Today I am sharing the 9 hacks to make Claude Code 1,000 times better that you can implement right away. Because over the last few months I have used Claude Code to build AI systems that have made me hundreds of thousands of dollars and run my business for me while I sleep. So I'll be sharing everything that I wish that I knew when I first got started, including the AI prompts that you can just copy paste into your own Claude Code, as well as an official advice from Anthropic themselves. And then if you stick with me until the end, I'll give you my number one most valuable skill that I have created so far that took me a full day to build. So hack number one is to be explicit with your instructions. Now, this might sound silly, but if you don't give it the right input, Claude is not going to know what to give you as the output. So if you ask, can you suggest improvements on this component? What you wanted was the component restructured, but what you got was a bulleted list of suggestions. So Claude did what you asked, but it didn't have the right input. So I'm going to give you some of the copy-paste inputs that I use here, but I want you to understand the thinking behind this. So the fix is changed to restructure this component to extract validation logic and add error handling. That's very specific. Claude immediately rewrote it, and that's exactly what I wanted on the first try. Now, an example of a vague prompt is, this email feels too corporate. What do you think? Claude analyzes the email, tells you why it feels corporate, lists the things you could change, doesn't touch the email. However, if you say to it, rewrite this email to remove all corporate jargon, make it sound like a conversation with a friend, keep the same points, but change the tone completely, Claude will be able to rewrite the entire email, change the tone, keep the structure, ready to send, and exactly what you wanted. So the pattern is, if you want suggestions, use words like suggest, recommend, what do you think? If you want implementation, use words like create, build, refactor, or implement. And if you want analysis, use words obviously like analyze, review, and evaluate. Okay, so hack number 2 is more of a game changer. Now, everybody in your team should have a role card. They should have explicit instructions on the things that they are doing in your business, what KPIs they need to be meeting, etc. And so there's no reason that your AI should not have the same thing. So think about it like this. Who do you want building your app, your dashboard, your piece of software, or your integration, or your automation? Do you want a random junior developer, or do you want a senior developer with 15 years of experience? Obviously, you choose the expert. Yet most people don't assign roles in Claude Code. So without a role assignment, this is typically what you get. Build a search feature. So Claude pulls an entire training data set and every search implementation ever and averages them together and gives you generic garbage. However, with a role assignment, if you say to Claude, you are a senior full stack engineer with 15 years building search systems, specialized in React and TypeScript, prioritize performance and UX, and build a search feature for this app. Now, Claude narrows all of its patterns to a senior level developer. It only uses React and TypeScript examples and performance optimized approaches, and it gives you very specific high quality outputs. And so here are a couple of copy paste roles that you can plug into your business for different functions. So for business strategy, you can tell it you are a business strategist who has scaled 30 plus online education businesses from 0 to 7 figures. You focus on leverage, systems, and removing the founder from daily operations. And then insert the thing you want it to do. For technical work, you are a senior software engineer with 15 years building scalable web applications. You prioritize clean code, proper documentation, and maintainability over clever solutions. Or if you're a copywriter and you want a piece of copy written like a VSL or something, you are Dan Kennedy and Jason Flatley combined. You write direct response video sales letters that convert cold traffic into buyers. You use storytelling, pattern interrupts, and strong call to actions. Or if you're a content strategist and you want your Claude Code to give you content strategy, you're a content strategist who has helped 50 plus B2B SaaS companies build thought leadership on LinkedIn. You create posts that get 100,000 plus views and generate qualified leads. And so this is exactly, by the way, how I built this automation. So every day I get 5 different pieces of content automatically created across Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I built it prompting it that way. Like, you are a seasoned veteran, you are like this person, like this person, like this person, who understands this and this and this, and pull it all together and every day give me content. And fun fact, I can click generate post and it actually will create the piece of content for me and add it to my ClickUp board. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second, but it's so sweet. And so this is where I got this inspiration from. If you look, and again, if you want this Miro board, by the way, you can just click the first link in the description and then join the free school group where I will be revealing all of this content, and all these Miro boards will be exclusively posted in here. There are 5,000 other people in here making money with marketing, AI automations, and AI agents. So I'll leave that linked in that free school group. So if you want all of this to just plug and play, go there. So this is from Vox. Every agent now has a role card that they own, what they deliver, what they can't touch, when to escalate. So you go from this like vibe coding to actual job descriptions, right? And so why wouldn't you have this if you have AI agents in your business? It makes so much sense. Like, think about it. If you had not given somebody precise guidelines and railings to work on, how would they perform in your business? Pretty terribly. So hack number 3 comes straight from Anthropic, and it has been a game changer for me. And you can see here they say, now providing context or motivation behind your instructions helps Claude better understand your goals and deliver more targeted responses, because sometimes it's difficult to articulate all the things that we need and all the context, but if you provide the motivation behind the task that you want done, it'll often infer all of the context, if that makes sense. And if you don't have the patience to sit there and type all of this kind of rubbish, the app that I use, which has been the best AI tool that I have ever used outside of Claude, is Whisperflow. And so I'm not affiliated with these guys. If you use my link in the description, I get 1 month for free, but I've already gotten like 5 years of free access to this because so many people inside of from you guys from watching this have clicked and downloaded this and started using it. It is the biggest unlock in prompting AI. So to give you an example, like, I don't mean to geek out about this, but let me say, okay, I just push one button on my keyboard and I dictate my words. So I say, give me a full-length YouTube video based on all the criteria you know about me, pull from recent examples, and give me a top 10 list of all of the XYZ, whatever. And so what would have taken me a minute and a half to write out like an old man, I now have dictated with my voice. And so I could just got these streams of consciousness type prompts that I've got like thousands of words instead of 2 or 3 sentences. And so if you want to give more context, the best way to do it is with your voice. And the best way to do that is with Whisperflow. So check that out. I'll leave that linked as well below. But if you say build a calendar component, Claude doesn't really understand what you want. So if you say build a calendar component, and eventually every task, note, project will be connected to this calendar. So it's a central hub for the entire system. Build it flexible enough to handle different types of entry and extensible enough for future features. If you give it all of that context, it understands the motivation behind it. And so it understands the why. Without the why, it'll just build some generic, some generic output for you. With the why, it'll build it correctly, and all of the stuff that we don't understand as non-programmers, it'll build it scalably. It'll add data infrastructure and it'll create a structure that will handle different types of entry later, so you don't have to refactor everything. And it thinks about system connections and foundations for the actual goal, and it'll also pick up on nuances that you haven't even thought of, and it'll build it into the app. And I've had this many times. And so if you've got something generic like this, you go add user authentication. Okay, well, if you ask it to add user authentication, and this app will be for free and paid users and need to track features feature access, and in the future, team accounts where one person pays and invites others, etc., etc. And so it'll build something like this, which is way more beautiful, much more scalable, and it's exactly what you're looking for because you gave it the motivation. So, Claude makes hundreds of small decisions whilst building, and if you give no context, it guesses, and if you give it more context, it knows. And the best way to do that, again, is with your voice. And the motivation provides a decision framework for it to go down and a path for it to infer different things. So every decision is aligned with this actual goal. Now, hack number 4 is load context at start. So most people do this wrong, right? They open up Claude Code and they immediately ask it to build stuff. Claude has no context. So starting completely blind is not a good idea. So open Claude Code and then ask it to load all context and tell Claude about the project, the architecture, the tech stack, and let it build a complete mental model and then start building. A way that you can do this actually is go into plan mode. So for example, here I will pull up my Claude instance and then I will hit Shift Tab and you can see it changes here. And now it's in plan mode. And so what I would suggest you do, if you have a big, long project that you are not sure exactly how to do it correctly, you shift tab into plan mode, and then you feed it a whole bunch of context with whisper flow. So I go, I'm about to build a project that is going to manage all of my time and make sure that I do not stray from anything. Help me put together a time management app that keeps track of everything that I'm doing on the screen and pulls in all the data sets that you have and allows me to make sure that I'm not wasting a single second of my time and I'm focused on the highest leverage activities possible. And boom. And now we hit enter and it'll go into this extremely long process of asking you questions backwards and forwards like you were working with a senior developer. And it was saying, okay, help me understand this a little bit more. What do you want it to do? What do you want it to be like? How do you want it to feel? Okay, and then it's got all the context. It'll go out and build it for you. So pretty amazing stuff. So take a look at this app and this architecture. Understand deeply how it works inside and out. Review, file structure, blah, blah, blah. So ask questions if unclear. And you can feed it all of this context before you get started. So Claude knows your project and it doesn't guess about architecture. And as a result, the first response after loading is really good. The second one gets better and better and better. Here is an example of what I mean. Again, I've just pulled this from Twitter. Shout out AI Edge. This Opus 4.5 system prompt unlocks 100% of Opus's thinking power. The elite cognitive operator system. So copy paste this into Claude and you will be significantly smarter. Now, if you stick around until the end, I will actually give you a skill that does this for you. But let's move on to hack number 5 here, which is a structured context JSON file. So this may scare some of you, but human language is kind of messy and machine language is very clean and it doesn't allow any room for error. So what you can do is that you can take your human language and you can like convert it into machine language, which allows for less ambiguation. So copy and paste in this script here. And the way that you use this is you fill this out once per feature. So 10 to 15 minutes, you paste it into Claude and you say, build this search feature following this spec exactly. And Claude uses every detail and the first draft is like 90% production ready. So if you want to take all of your human language and put it into machine language, you can use Claude for that. You can say, hey Claude, take this prompt and turn it into machine language and create a JSON file so that you have it forever. And then you can use that constantly and it'll always be on the same railings. And like I say, you can just copy this if you want. This is an example of what that would look like. Hack number 6 is one that I use all the time, and it is a something called few-shot prompting. So few-shot prompting is an AI prompting technique that provides a model with 2 to 5 examples or screenshots or input-output pairs to guide its reasoning. So it improves the accuracy and enforces specific output formats. This is down to the old adage of show, don't tell. So show examples. It learns by pattern recognition, and the more examples you give it, the better matching it will be. And so as an example, I managed to build out this mission control dashboard based on a screenshot that I fed it from somebody that I saw on Twitter sharing with me what they had built out. Now, I have taken what they have done, and then I have designed it in a different way that's specific to my use case. But man, it was so much quicker doing it like this than starting from scratch. And so if you give it better inputs, you have to prompt it fewer times. The model understands way better, and the output is way, way, way better. And so if you give it a bad prompt, like build a settings page component, versus if you give it 3 different examples and you say build a settings page component following these patterns, it understands much clearer how to do that. And so something that I didn't understand early on, and this is kind of I guess a little hack in and of itself, is that let's say we screenshot this page, okay, and then we open up our Claude Code, right? And here is the screenshot that we just took. You can see. Now I just go Command C, and then I paste it in here. And then I go build me something like this. And what it'll do is it will pull that image, and it'll like read the image visually. Super easy, amazing hack. All right, hack number 7 is chain of thought. So make Claude think step by step. Give it direct questions and surface level analysis. And so it doesn't think through variables, it doesn't consider trade-offs, and it jumps to statistically likely answers. Whereas the solution here is a chain of thought. So force Claude to break problems down into steps, and then have it solve each step one by one. The output is way better. So we are not in a world yet where I can just say, build me a mission control dashboard for all of the stuff that I've got plugged into my business, and then it just goes and does it. You need to break it down into steps and go, okay, step 1 is this, and then go and build that. Step 2 is this, and then go and build that, and then link everything together. So as an example, let's say you have a course, some sort of transformation course, and so you go map course transformation to each pane. Okay, step 1 is done. Identify emotional hooks and story angles. Okay, step 2 is done. Deeply analyze the audience pain points. Step 3 is done. Structure. So structure the narrative arc if we're putting this all together into a VSL. Okay, and then it's done that. And now write the complete VSL using all of that flow and that chain of thought that you've just developed out. And so as an example here is like a user onboarding experience. So the prompt is build complete user onboarding flow approach step by step. Is step 1 to analyze what new users need to do first. So create the team, invite members, create projects, add tasks. Step 2 is to determine the optimal order and whether steps are optional or required. And step 3 is the design UI. So the modal, the side panel, full page. Step 4 is to plan progress tracking and state management. And step 5 is to implement complete onboarding with error handling. Now, if you just asked it to go and create a user onboarding flow, it would have gone off and done a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't want it to do. So we're trying to avoid that as much as possible. So try to use this for architecture decisions, complex feature implementations, refactoring large components, data schema design, or performance optimization. It's not necessary for simple component updates, bug fixes, or quick styling changes, right? Now, hack number 8, and then I'm going to get to my favorite hack after this, is to use the insights command. So most people actually don't know that this exists, but it has it built into Claude Code where you can type in /insights. And what it does is that it reads your message history in the past month, and it analyzes all projects worked on, and it reviews how you use Claude Code and identifies workflow patterns, and then gives improvements based on how you use Claude Code. And so you can see here that this is something that one of the developers behind Claude is talking about here. So let me show you what that looks like. You type in insights, and then let it do its thing, and then it will generate a report for you based on the insights. And so you can see that it outputs all of this stuff, like how you're using the tool, impressive things you've done, 170 sessions, deployed multi-agent fleet, that's what I managed to build, la la la. So yeah, go through, and obviously I don't want to go through everything because it's going to give away some stuff I'm working on in private, but very impressive stuff, and it's built into Claude Code, so give that a go. And then finally, hack number 9 is to leverage skills inside of Claude Code. So think about the scene in the Matrix, i.e. this one, combat training. So you plugged in to the back of the brain.
I'm going to learn Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh shit, man.
Hey, Mikey, I think you.
So that's exactly what a Claude Code skill is like. It's a whole bunch of things that you can plug in. They're modular prompt templates or code snippets that automate repetitive tasks, enforce standards, or add new capabilities into Claude. And these are things that you can either build yourself or you can take from a repo and you can plug in to save yourself time. And so I'm going to give you my favorite skills that I have used and then one that I have built myself. Now, these are a collection of skills that I would recommend. Again, you should do your own research because some of these skills could be have been updated or they might be dirty, but you can just point your Claude Code towards this and it will download all these skills and then upload it just like in the Matrix into the back of its brain and be smarter. Then there's also these ones here which you can use. And again, all you need to do is just upload these into, it's like just give the links to your Claude Code and it will go and do all of this for you. And so you can then ask it to pull those skills out next time you're doing a task that requires those skills. But the real meta skill is specificity. That's the real skill. So if you don't prompt like this, you're not going to make it. That's what Gary Tan says. And I will leave this here for you. Again, all of this is inside the free Dopamine Digital School group. Go and check those out. But you can just take this screenshot and feed it to Claude, and it will be so much smarter. And then if you want to supercharge Claude Code, you need to add these to your Claude MD file. So if you don't know, Claude is made up of multiple different files, and think of it like the brain inside of Claude Code, and then it updates all the time based on who you are and what sorts of things you do, and so it has context. Now, this chap here, literally just copy paste this into Claude, like literally just go, boom, 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 into Claude, and then it will automatically update the claude.md file for you. And I think the most valuable skill that I have created so far, and again, I am going to leave this as an MD file, or a markdown or a skill file inside of the free school group here, is what I call the save game system. So the problem is that every time you close Claude Code and you open a new chat or you run compact or clear, Claude just forgets everything. It's like you're working on a project, you're giving it all this context, and then it's like context limit reached, which is like the death screen of Claude Code. So you have to start again, and it doesn't remember the files you touched, what decisions you made, what's left to do. You basically start from zero every single time. So for a quick question, that's fine, but for real work, like if you're building features across multiple files, across multiple days, debugging things, you don't want to have to spend the first 5 or 10 minutes giving it all this context. And so what the save game system does is it auto-saves your work just like a video game, silently in the background without you having to do anything. And so every time Claude finishes a subtask, auto-saved. Every 30 tool calls, auto-saved. Before you type compact or clear, auto-saved. When you say goodbye, auto-saved. And when you open a new session, the last checkpoint loads automatically, as it should be. So your context is written to in a markdown file with what you're working on, what's done, what's in progress, what's remaining, key files and key decisions, so that Claude's memory gets compacted and you don't have to start fresh. It reads the file, picks up exactly where you left off. So context is the most expensive thing in AI-assisted work, and rebuilding it wastes so much time, especially when you've got deadlines. Like you've got a client call and you were just about to finish the growth plan, and then it's like, oh, context completely cleared. You hit your context limit, and like this happens so many times to me. So I spent all day building this system. And like honestly, I haven't seen anybody else talk about this kind of stuff. Yes, people have talked about memory, but they haven't talked about context. And so I would highly suggest that you download this skill. Again, I'm going to leave it pinned in the free school group here at the top. So make sure you go and check that out. But look, guys, thank you guys very much for watching. I'm working on way more Claude Code stuff. So if you like this video and you want more content like this, I have 8 other skills that I want to put into a video and give you guys for free. So if you're excited about that, subscribe, like, and join the free Dopamine Digital School Group. I'll leave that link below. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.